to realize your full potentiality. That's why this is the self, it creates opportunities. It is the self that motivates you. It is the self that makes you face the challenges while realizing yourself. So he says that this primitive cause of our personality is nothing but the creative self. Why he calls creative is it creates opportunities and gives direction and meaning to the life. Having said that the fundamental cause is the self, he says that the self creates ideals. He calls them as fictions, F-I-C-T, fictions. Fiction means imaginate. It creates an imagination about the life, beliefs, values, processes, so many fictions here. And it creates the final goals of the life. He calls it as fictional finalism. And I will stop here and tell that these two aspects of creative self and the fictional finalism, that is final goal, these two determine our life. Every aspect of our life and personality, whether it is thinking, emotions, behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, motivations, everything comes under these two aspects. They are the primary factors that drives you. Then what is that you do with these two? What is that your self says to realize yourself? He says that striving for the superiority. Initially called superiority, saying that you want to excel in every aspect of the life. Initially called it as, in our book, as it is striving for superiority. Subsequently, he changed that. But striving for the realization of potential. Please note this point when writing. So here what he says that, in which fields he tries to excel, he discusses now. What are the tasks he undertakes? He says that there is, by birth, there will some people having some organ defects. In the brought up, he will be feeling some inferiority. So he brought in the concept of inferiority. So every person tries to excel and overcome this inferiority. That is called as compensating this inferiority by striving hard to excel in every walk of life. This is what he was. Second one is there are another aspect which this creative self takes into consideration to strive to drive us or motivate us or give directions to individuals, these social needs, interests. He called it as a social interest. By birth, everybody will have social interest. That is harmony with the nature, harmony with the society, harmony with the co-beings, cohabitants. He says that this social interest makes the man whole person or whole individual. Whole individual is different from individual. A whole individual is one who synchronizes personal development with the social development, personal harmony with the social harmony. When you combine this and harmoniously move forward, it is good for the society as well as the individual. This is the essence of the individual psychology of Adler. Yeah, where he deviated, we will see it. We'll show the PowerPoint. And he also discussed the personality is determined by birth order. How the first child personality, what are the negative things, negative traits and positive traits one develop. And the second child, how one develop. Or as a single child, how one develops. These are different issues he dealt with. And now he has developed a therapy also that is used for the children as well as family counseling purpose. This is his contribution. And Adler is considered to be the person who brought in the humanism into the psychology. We have behavioralism, psychoanalytism, and then gestaltist therapy, gestaltist approaches. And humanistic approach foundation is laid by Adler because he talks about the creative self and actualization of the self. Automatically, you recollect that Carl Rogers' person-centric theory and Maslow's need theory Both are influenced by Adler. Okay. Now let us see in detail about the different aspect of Adler's individual personality. Here, I will share the PowerPoint. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. Now let us
Yes, sir.
before understanding Adler, we should know few basics about his life history so that he can easily understand it. And people say that in order to understand any theory or postulations in the social sciences, we should first read his personality or life history. So here Adler in the childhood is not a healthy person and is inflicted with rickets and pneumonia, and he for that is less energy in interacting with the others made him inferior. So this inferiority complex within him made him to incorporate that concept in the personality theory. So please remember that point. And then he met with Freud, and he made him in Vienna meetings. He made him the president, and then he contributed to the Freud's theory, and he criticized the childhood experiences and focusing more on childhood experiences and conflict and the sex. So he departed with the Freud subsequently, and he wrote a book on study of organ inferiority and its psychical compensation. After departing with Freud, he wrote this point. Even before Carl Jung, he separated from Freud. So Freud and Adler differs. I already discussed. Is Freud about this focused more on the sex and aggression as the motivator. Otherwise, we can say unconscious factors and the innate drives or instincts, life instinct and death instinct, tetanus and that those aspects Freud focus. But Adler, I already told, social influence will make him a person. It is motivating point for him. Then here people have no choice. Here the interactions and the with the co-beings makes him mold his personality. And Freud focused more on the present, and Jung focused more on Freud focused on the past, Jung focused mostly on the present, and Adler focused more on the future because there is ideal self is there which gives finalism. Finalism means final goal it fixes. He says that a person who has a final goal, clarity in achieving final goal will flourish and succeed or thrives. The person who is having a vague final goals will not succeed as much as the person who has clarity. So then we already discussed the unconscious part and the conscious part. So here he says that his theory says the individual is unique, dynamic, and is created by his own self, by the creative self. It is social interest that drives, and there are many social determinants that mold one's personality. And then there are different mechanisms adopted in order to overcome the tasks like family tasks, occupational tasks, or individual tasks. He divided them into the tasks. To achieve them, a person adopts an attitude towards them. That attitudes make him to adopt certain strategies. He called them as a style of the life or lifestyles. Then this creative self will drive you to achieve the best and realize your potentiality. Here you can change that to the superiority, the potentiality also. Then goal directed, as I told everybody, he says that we'll have a normal, healthy, balanced, harmonious person will have definite purpose of life and final goal. That is what he says. That is what humanism also says. Humanism says that one is having conscious desires and will to control oneself and promote one's interest in the interest of the society as well as oneself. That is humanism. So then he says that inferiorities are there, I already discussed, and when that he could not overcome, that leads to low self-esteem and it blocks his growth. This is basic. And creative self is the first causal role I discussed. And then humans make their own personalities out of hereditary and experiences. The individual create the style of the life. So he is not denying the hereditary concept and his experiences in the society, but it is the lifestyle that one creates for himself. Lifestyle, I already told, style of the life is nothing but the attitude towards oneself and his life and to the others and to the difficult problems. And depending on that, the strategies adopts are called as style of the life. Then he says that man creates himself or we create ourselves, our personality, our character. These are the quotations, these quotations I wrote. We are we are not passively shaped by the childhood experiences, what is told by the Freud, he denies here. Then coming to the fictional finalism, I discussed you, I explained you about the in brief about the individual psychology of Adler. But here the sequence in your book is not given in the order of creative self and slowly. But in the book it is given in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sequence. But the better to understand from the creative self, fictional finalism, and striving, inferiority, like how what motivates. So here he says that these fictional finalism ideals about the future, ideas what it creates, there are goals, ideas, ambitions, plans, so many issues about the future it makes. So in order to make our life organized and harmonious, he says two things: internal harmony or individual harmony and social harmony. Both should be achieved in order to become a whole individual. It is nothing but a type of gestalt approach. Then a healthy person here, whenever you face problems, a goal you are unable to achieve, he says that healthy person changes those goals or the whims or ambitions and desires and interests. But neurotic person who is more anxious and stressful, unrealistic, this person will not change and suffer from unrealized goals. Then comes our superiority. In place of superiority, he says that a perfection, it is nothing but self-realization. Striving for self-realization. So every person will have innate drive to move upwards. He says that life is not determined by homeostasis or equilibrium or survival tendencies, which we discussed in the structure and the functions of processes of personality in unit number 2. Here he says that motivated, we have seen about the motivations in that functions. The risk taking is there in achieving self-realization. That aspect is focusing here. We are motivated to become inferior to superior. That is, in the ladder, we move upwards, minus to the plus, and from beneath to the upwards. The movement is upwards. This is growth-oriented, optimistic-oriented, humanistic approach. So it is innate drive to become better and improve one's life. This is what he says in terms of not only one's harmony but also social harmony. So
Sir, excuse me.
tell me,
Sir, the slide is in the first slide still.
it is not
You're
moving.
able to see. Sir. It's in the first slide still.
I will block it. I will cut it and again restart. Let us see.
Please, please.
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, we now change.
Oh, wait. Now I will show. I will move PPT, otherwise we'll wait a minute. PDF will take. If it is not good. Is it visible? Can
Yeah, sir.
anybody?
First slide. First
Ah,
slide.
so I made it a PDF and now bringing it because
Yes, now visible.
not
Now
good.
moving.
It is better to use PDF. Same converted into PDF. So I told you that in the I mean sorry, Adler told that there is a creative self, and second aspect is ideal self it creates. Ideal selves make you to strive hard to become a perfect person. What purpose? What are the issues he faces? Is there is a social interest. That interest also gives certain tasks for us and problems for us. In order to overcome, one will adopt certain strategies. That are called a style of life. So here, what purpose is saying social interest? Please remember, Freud focused more on the unconscious part, and here he says, here he concentrates more on the conscious as well as social. That is nothing but environment. So he says that one should have attitude to be aware of being a part and parcel of community. And then he says that once growth, development, mental health, or happiness are determined by one's social conduct and social positive interrelationships. Please remember this point. It shows how much importance he has given for social interest. So this is the same thing he repeats here. Immature people lack the social interest, where social interest includes social harmony. Why social harmony is required? For personal harmony. Together it drives. So healthy individual genuinely concerned about not only about himself, but also about the others. So his goals are ideal self create the goals. Those goals are to be in synchronous with the social harmony. This is what he says. Otherwise, we become selfish. Now he tells about the style of the life. Just you read it. This is not in our book. Even though he differs with Freud, if you see this tree, below that five roots components which lays foundation for our personality are from the influence of childhood. On the left side, you see childhood influences. In the middle, we form certain attitudes to oneself and the difficulty for our own difficulties with others, especially with the other sex, and towards the goals of the life. These attitudes are formed and framed during the adolescence. Here he says that Freud's opinion of complete childhood influence is not correct. Then in adulthood, he will be having certain tasks of the family, that is love and sex, and occupation and job-oriented tasks. And he calls them as their life tasks. Second one is towards the society. For these tasks, he adopts certain lifestyles. I can share this. Please don't write on the screen. It's not good. Be a sincere student, help others. If you go on writing like that, there is no, you may derive pleasure, but it create difficulty for others. Be a psychologist, good psychology student. I'm happy that, thank you, whoever did it. Now the five lifestyles he divided into four types. These are nothing but your attitudes and the attitude towards totality of ourselves, others, my life goals, my tasks I am going to adopt. This put together, he calls them as what are four types? Ruling type. I want to dominate on others. I want to show power. I want to make them dependent. Then getting type, that means bringing people into my influence. Their domination is there. Here getting means dependency, make them more dependent. Avoiding type in order to avoid the difficulties or the anxieties with others. Then socially useful type. Here it says the best type where he, instead of becoming a ruler or dominant or making others dependent, he become a social human being, co-human being, and shares work for the shared aspects. So here first the getting type and the socially useful type can make a healthy style, but other two it makes a mistaken lifestyles. It leads to neuroticism. In good olden days, other than psychotic disorders, they used to call them a neurotic disorder. It includes all other diseases other than psychosis. Stress, anxiety, behavior problem, adjustment problem. Okay, now coming, he also told about the birth order. Old child will be pampered and he takes more, he gets more attention, more feeding, more responsibility also gets. Second of two sibling rivalry will be there. One wants to dominate. And middle one feels that he is squeezed out, ignored, isolated, that psychology one develops. And youngest one is seen always as a baby and independent, immature, and weak. And the only child, he does not learn to share with others and then become pampered child. Certain difficulties will be there. But having said these negative aspects, he actually says that Adler's theory, no other psychoanalyst contributed to this aspect. He says not only negative aspect, but positive aspects also. So as eldest son, he nurtures other brothers, other sisters, and the parents. And then second one is highly motivated, cooperative, and moderately competitive. And youngest child will be realistically ambitious. And only child is the socially mature one is also positive elements. I discussed about the Then inferiority told by birth one will be having organ defects. Then by birth, some people have it during the delivery, some forceps deliveries may cause deficiencies. And then overindulgence children or pampered child also develop certain social inferiorities, and neglected child also develops. Then having said that, he says that in order to overcome these difficulties, one will develop skills positively. Otherwise, naturally, other organs will be developed. Just other organs. When I'm in the class, I will come back. Okay. So second, naturally, some other organs will be developed during this phase, during the developmental process. He mentions about Helen Keller, the blind and deaf person, and also Beethoven, who is a musician, who was a deaf but created his own mark in the world of music. So second one is the inferior, third one is inferior organ may be strengthened. If these three compensations not takes place, then it leads to physical inferiority. Okay, then what are the compensations for that? You have to develop coping skills for this. In order to do certain works or building activities to overcome the weakness, and focus more on the more functional aspects, strengthen the more functional aspect than the weak organs. Then it was a healthy mechanism to cope with the feelings of inferiority. Healthy mechanisms we have to develop. Failure leads to neurosis, but we see in many people. What happens? He says that once a person fails to overcome inferiority, what does he do? He does defense mechanisms. What is the name given by defense mechanism by Adler is safeguards. Freud Anna Freud, his daughter, gave nearly 10 important defense mechanisms. Here he also adopted same and gave three major safeguards or the defense mechanism in order to overcome. They suppress or try to ignore. There are one is excuse. Second one is they become aggressive on others. and otherwise they will withdraw or isolated. They will become depressive. They will become aggressive, like a mania persons. So otherwise, some type of maladaptation also takes place, like overcompensation. Compensation, that where deficit is there, plus side of your faculties are there, mental, physical, emotional are gone, that you will try to strengthen more. But here, what he does is self-aggrandizement. Even though he is weak, he cannot fight with others. He thinks that he is the superior. And then he try to promote the self-interest against the others. So, because I am deprived of, I am weak, I should get more share. This type of overcompensation takes place. This leads to the neurotic or anxiety disorders. So what happens with the social needs or family tasks and individual tasks or social tasks, occupational tasks we discussed about? For that, how he strives. First, innate strength is there, striving force is there, that is given by creative self and ideal self. Then from that, he will be facing certain deficiencies. Once he feels deficiencies, if you won't feel, it is okay. If he feels, he gets the inferiority complex. Where from he got it? He got inferiority complex in the childhood. He is showing that attitude or attribute here in this psychology itself. So how he copes up with that? If it is properly coped up, it gives a balance, if balance of life or balance of individual growth. If otherwise, it leads to the psychological disorder, basically neurosis. Here, the normal feelings with the positive compensation, taking social interest into the consideration or social harmony into the consideration, goals are in sync, individual goals are in sync with the social goals, then that gives the success. Then that goal is achieved because he has a final goal clearly perceived. Here, once inferiority or problems he faces, in order to, while striving hard, here he gets the negative compensations, what we thought about the exaggerate, overcompensation and these safeguards he tried to adopt here. With this, what happens? One of the elements is self-interest. Instead of social interest, self-interest is one of the overcompensations. He only focuses on self-interest. Here comes the personal gain will be there. He feels personal superiority, but it lands in, even though it looks like he is succeeding, it lands in neurosis. That is the reason for the psychological disorders. This is what addresses. Then the neurosis, overcompensation, we already discussed about that. So factors of maladjustment of neurotics, what they do once they get into the neurosis, stress or anxiety and alarming or phobias, whatever it may be developed, they are why? What are the factors of maladjustment? One is underdeveloped social interest, meaning that he is always focusing on social interest. He says that here our social harmony is not taking into the consideration. Second one, he is living in his own private world, just like psychosis patients. Then set off their goals too high, abnormal goals they try to fix because they feel that because of the overcompensation, there is a concept called as self-aggrandizement. This self-aggrandizement thing, he thinks that he can achieve anything. That's why unrealistic goal he fixes and lands in the psychosis again. He lands in the neurotic disorders. And if they become a very rigid and a dogmatic style, they leave. Then, okay, this this is not much needed. This is the, so application of Adler's theory. He say where it is, he has developed depending on the birth order and other things. He developed his theory is adopted for development of strong relations in the society. Just for additional information, don't go deep into that. It is not covered, but as a contribution, generally we discuss about the personality structure. And if he develops any therapy, that also we discuss, but in our book it is not given. Okay, this where this therapy is used is establishment of romantic relations or friendship relationship or in the occupation. So coming back, 5 tenets where one is we desire a sense of belongingness because cooperation and adjustment with the society, social harmony says, And second one is we control our own lives, and change is always possible. Control means we can abandon or increase whatever we feel as a need or interest or desire or goal. This is what happens once we control. Humanism says that one has control over himself. This is again you bringing in. And third tenet is we act with a purpose. What is the purpose? To become whole individual. Whole individuals, self-harmony as well as social harmony. Because change is inevitable and we should be able to change. Healthy person only changes. Neurotic persons become rigid personality. We form our own reality. We already discussed that there is this ideal self, this fictional finalism that is also called as fictional finalism. Then we are holistic. We say that understanding an individual requires look at the entire person, part of individual work together. Parts of an individual work together. Fourth element we are missing is it should be part and in consonance with the social health or social harmony. Okay, let us not go. This is about the Adler. I will briefly tell it. Adler's deviated from Freud. He says that conscious elements, consciously human beings decide, consciously human beings control themselves. And not only conscious part, he also bringing the self. There is a creative self which creates ambitions, desires, paths, and motivations, gives meaning to the life, and that creates a ideal self or fictional idealism, fictional finalism. In that there will be final goals, interests, different paths each try to put in, which is good for us. And then there will be certain social interests. Major talks of the social interest includes the individual love and marriage issues and belongingness, and then occupational performance and efficiencies, and then social harmony. These tasks and inferior. Second one, another tasks are given by the inferiority during the childhood or by birth. Whatever inferiority one develops, he has to overcome. These two, performing these social interest tasks and the overcoming the compensating the inferiorities, one will strive hard to become perfect. He uses the word perfect, but in our book it is given superior. Superior in many aspects. This is basic. For that, he adopts certain strategies that are determined by our style of life, which includes our attitudes and the values. This is about the Adler. Now we will see about Eric Fromm. Eric Fromm, F-R-O-M-M. Please remember this word, Eric Fromm. Once you read it, it is. I will stop here. Anybody having doubt about Adler's individual theory of personality? Okay. Please remember the chart of flow from creative self to achievement or striving. Then Eric Fromm, it is basically a philosophy. Eric Fromm is a victim of Second World War from Nazis, and he is also influenced by Freud. He is also called a neo-Freudian. Adler focused on these social interests and social phenomena, social relationships, social harmony to become whole individual. Here he studied more on the culture. Why he studied culture? He studied the Nazi movement, how they influenced the common man against the Jews or different Christian cults, and how he highlighted the nationalism, racism, and ultimately the state collapsed due to these concepts. People became victims. People followed him blindly. It ruined their lives. So many millions of people died. Then he wrote a book is traced from the old ancient times to the current days, how an individual or the social culture is progressed. Very, very, very interesting concept. I'm giving a brief about it. He says that in ancient time, we used to live together, share the burdens, live for one another. The commonhood is there. Subsequently, what happened? This common element, what happened? Medieval ages, the church started dominating the people. Even the church dominated and brought in different wrong beliefs and blind beliefs, and there are certain perversions. But it has not broken down the social dependency and concern for the society. Once the capitalist society came, the complete separation of individual from the society happened. And this society, individual reached to a stage where he cannot go back to the commonhood stage. And he has in a dilemma, multiple dilemmas. How to overcome? He is losing, in the name of the freedom, he is losing cohesiveness, security, social pleasure, so many issues. How to do? What is the solution for this? Why people are exploiting the ideology? Communism, capitalism, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, like that. So why these people, one is exploiting the other? One is creating others as an enemy in order to perpetuate their power. Powerful people are becoming powerful, coming into the power, and they becoming powerful because these people are unconsciously, even though personality developed, brain developed, they are succumbed to this propaganda, and they are supporting the dominant or powerful authoritarian governments in the feeling that gives them a sense of security and power over their supposed deemed arch rivals in the society in terms of religion, caste, and the race, so many issues. Then he provides solutions to some extent in this context. And he discusses about the dilemmas and solutions in the present day phenomena, how individualism, individual freedom, and social dependence and social cohesion, social harmony, both can they be coexisted? If not, if yes, how? If not, how? Why? What to do? This he discussed. Very interesting. Let us start this. I will try to share the PDF now.
Excellent, sir.
Please tell me.
That mind map is based on Adler's philosophy, sir.
Yes, and that is an Adler. Yes, sir. Correct, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Those 6 elements in a diagrammatic form, it was whatever I discussed, he kept as a single diagram. I will try to share that in the group. Okay. Now I will share this. Okay, friends, is it visible now the screen? The PDF? Can anybody
Yes,
read?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
It is
sir.
visible.
Yes, sir, visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, I told it is a philosophy, life history will see, and his influences What are his influences on him? He is influenced by humanism. He is influenced by psychoanalysis. He is influenced by Karl Marx. He is influenced by other neo-Freudian psychoanalysts like Adler, Sullivan, and Harney. These three people's theories are also there in our syllabus. So he is from very religious family. His family is not a happy family. He is a Jew, Orthodox Jew, and he is influenced by Judaism also. His father is very fickle-minded or moody mind, and then depressed mother. Then it leads type of problem in his understanding about what is the good family, happy family. This these concepts are shown in his mind in the child. Okay. Then it influences humanistic values. This is about the Jewish and then revolutionary spirit of Karl Marx, where Karl Marx focuses on social harmony, economic sharing of properties, nationalization of the assets, and redistribution of assets between the haves and have-nots, and means of production for the happy life, ideally. Then he also influenced by Freud psychoanalysis, and because of this motivations of unconscious mind make people to surrender to the German Nazism. So they're also influenced by Freud. And then Zen Buddhism, I used to discuss of the mindfulness concepts are brought into the cognitive behavioral therapy. Then it says about more focus on the cognitive forces or living in the present moment or mindfulness, objective observation of the self. So many concepts are there. So then he studied a lot about how the family structures in the society develop and progress. That is Beethoven's matriarchal society. Because I have already given the essence of his theory, it is very easy for you to understand the influences. Then Fromm, who is having no family, happy family life, came to certain conclusions. What he says is, see, I already told that how man is getting separated from the nature, getting separated from the society, becoming more individualistic, non-dependent on the others. He says in this process, what is he assumes that from these influences and study and observation and experiences in the Nazi days, he says that we are losing connection with the natural world. So we are everybody in the modern society is having a feeling of isolation. In order to overcome this isolation, we are succumbing to the authoritarians or what we call as dictatorials or religious chauvinism, all these aspects he discusses here. It is a type of basic anxiety. Please remember this aspect. This isolation is basic anxiety in every individual in the capitalistic societies. Then he says that he studied the human history, where you can find the understanding of this concept. For that he studied anthropological study of human beings, human culture of family culture, marriage culture, how it has evolved. He has studied and found out that there are certain dilemmas within one. What are those dilemmas? We will see. Then man or human beings are less concerned on individual and more concerned on characteristics common on culture. Please remember this version. Characteristics we will discuss later. Characteristics common. He said that personality is the one which is character. We will see later. So what is his approach to the personality? He studied, because he is influenced by the Karl Marx, he studied from the class perspective or historical perspective, anthropological study, and philosophical perspective, he studied philosophy, and economics, of course, haves and have-nots, and the socio-biological factors all put together made him to concentrate more on the cultural aspect of the human history. So his approach is historical and cultural perspective. Please remember, when you write it, you have to write single word. It is historical and cultural approach. So he studied anthropological and psychological concept of human existence. What is the structure of personality? I think clearly not mentioned in our book. You can write it down. He says that after studying the human history, anthropology, he brought in three subcomponents of the personality. One is human history. Okay. Human situation, and as the evolution is taking place, he is facing some dichotomies and dilemmas, and from that he is developing distress. He is also adopting certain defenses. So there are certain basic needs which promote our personality. We also discussed it. We will see. And character orientation is nothing but personality types. Here the character orientation, please remember personality types. Here also we are having character. Somewhere I told you to go back. Here he says that characteristic common, or in the culture there are characteristic commons in individual also. Common elements in the individual. So now what is his definition of personality? From of opinion that personality is nothing but sum total of all innate as well as acquired by birth, whatever we get, or what we acquired or learned through our socialization or education or parenting, the abilities. But these abilities are characteristics to one individual. That means unique to one individual. Please remember this point. He is not focusing more on the common aspects. Even though he studied the common history of the human evolution, anthropologically, cultural evolution, matriarchy or family structure evolution, marriage evolution, he studied all these aspects, but focuses more on the uniqueness. Character is, if according to him, is not the instincts as told by Freud, death instinct or life instinct. He gives these two instincts. From this, we try to achieve or obtain or fulfill our desires. For that, ego controls. But here, instincts have not much role. He determines it is instead of it is a character. That means certain traits determine our action or personality. One thing is sum total of acquired abilities, psychic abilities. Please remember psychic abilities, personality traits, or the character. So another one is there are certain orientations from that character. One develops certain orientation. This is nothing but bringing in here again the social aspect, that how one behaves with the other gives the personality types. How you behave with the others in terms of the power or the security or conforming to the social norms and values or group norms and group values, how one behaves. These are put into the one phrase called as character orientations. So now three elements of the personality. One is the human situation and basic needs and character. Now we are discussing about the human situation. Now he studied individual, the mankind progress in different perspectives, how the financial or economic development has taken place, how the family system has evolved, how individualism evolved, how the communism evolved. All these threads or the trends he studied how they progressed. So he says that part of the nature in human situation. Now, what is the present human situation for an individual? Is the assumptions you have seen. From that assumption, he is telling that now we are, even though we are part of the nature or the society, we are into separatedness. And separate from whom? Society and nature. From where we are going? Independent. independence. I am alone, self. If too much ego develops, we call it as narcissism, right? So that tendency is discussed. We did not discuss about the narcissism, just for understanding. Here, becoming more individualistic and independent. So here, in the process, what is happening? Human situation now, compared to the ancient times, human being is now more, animal instincts are not there, but brain is developed and is becoming more rational. Even though he is rational, he is becoming isolated or separate. Then now he is discussing about the medieval period. In the medieval period, church-dominated primary ties are not much disturbed, but partly disturbed. Then in the capitalism, with the rise of capitalism, individual freedom is increased and led to the anxieties and powerlessness and led to the feeling of isolation. That's why he wrote a book, a very famous book. One can read it, very interesting. That book name is Escape from Freedom. Escape from Freedom. Otherwise, freedom from freedom. Okay, because it is freedom, negative aspect of freedom is at its crest in our human situation now, he says. So capitalism created this more individualism, more isolation. So we're left with the two options. First of escaping from the freedom. From where? You escape from individual, then where you go? You become dependent. You become more social. This is what he says. Second option is moving towards self-realization. If you cannot become part and parcel of society and commonhood, common kitchenhood, like that, what the socialism and communism says. Here he says, you cannot go back, then you self-realization. Go for self-realization. Here, again he discusses in the process of self-realization, we get into dilemmas again. We will see that. So, what type of self-realization ideally required there? That based on the love and harmonious work in society with others, work with harmony with others. These two aspects, he told. What are the solutions he is giving to us is these two. Now, human situation leads to certain dichotomies. We have discussed that there are two solutions he gave. Escape from freedom, become more interdependent, otherwise self-realization. Here comes the religion. How how that religion gives us the dilemmas and confusion, he says. Dichotomy between life and death, survival issues he is taking, he is considering now. Because he is byproduct of Nazism, fear, force, aggression, killing the people, destruction, violence, all these he has seen. He says that life and death are creating a confusion in us, what to do. So then he says that ultimately this dichotomy ends with the death only. Then says that another dichotomy is self-realization and a short lifetime. Some people say that you cannot realize yourself in a single life. Life continues, so many lives. You need so many lives to realize yourself. So this he says that lifespan required is equal to that of mankind in order to realize. This is another dichotomy. He says that some people think that our ancestors are better and they know, they realized their self better than us. And some people say that there is a life after death. So many dichotomies it is giving. And then comes the process of loneliness. Without reaching the threshold of loneliness, some people remain at the aloneness and instead of isolation. Isolation versus loneliness is discovered. So there are different dichotomies. Another 15 minutes left. Now, concept of dichotomies. He says that as human is evolving, there is rationality developed and animal instincts reduced, human instincts, normal instincts or healthy instincts are in progress. And despite of this reason, there is awareness that he is getting isolated. But he tries to overcome it. What are the mechanisms set up? We'll see. Then, even though it is having these dilemmas, rather permit him to survive and also make you strive hard to overcome these dichotomies. Some dichotomies are insoluble, life after death. Earlier people are happier than us. Some dichotomies are there, life and death issues that try to solve. Even though they are insoluble, there is no solution. We try to do it because of this concept. Here, there is one way say that even knowing that insoluble dichotomies, we try it. First premise he says that reasoning faculty increased, but in the last he says that it is not properly used. Now, where we are landing, fundamental problem, how to eliminate the separatedness and achieve union with the self, fellow human beings, and the nature, other the world. This is the fundamental question now. He has tracked or traced or studied the evolution of human being from different perspectives and dimensions like economy, marriage, culture, religion, values, everything is studied. How the means of production, medieval mercantilism, capitalism, financial capitalism, so many issues are studied and brought in is the ultimate problem now human beings are facing. Fundamental problem is separatedness. The solution is union. How to achieve it? Some people adopt certain escapist mechanisms instead of getting union. What are the escapist mechanisms one does? He had given 3 escapist mechanisms. This he had in our book. He has given very clearly. In order to overcome this this separatedness, that is, it gives anxiety that we have seen. In order to overcome this anxiety, we are escaping mechanism. What we are using, authoritarianism. Before that, in a society, what we do is easy to understand. In a society, the neighborhood and the same class, clan, or religion, we blindly follow them. That is an automation conformity. A religious, if I belongs to one religion, some 10 people does it, I follow it. That's all. There is no reason I am adopting, but only that is defense mechanism. In order to escape from anxiety, I am doing this. This is what he says. In a social groups, we are automatically confirming whether it is positive or negative. Why you are doing in the name of protecting ourselves in order to get security. Individual generally won't have security unless he is in a group. But for that purpose, he cannot go back and give everything to the society. But he want to maintain his individuality, become independent. Here, automation of conformity is doing. Then destructiveness, where opposite clan, class, religion, whatever group is there, they promote it and create destructiveness in the society, whether Nazis or the religious rulers or religious parties or idealistic, communistic and capitalistic parties. All these people adopt this. He says that there is no exception. Modern days, power groups, parties, they are adopting these. We are becoming gullible. He says that we are becoming gullible in order to get protection from our isolationism. Okay, that's why this philosophy is called as political. The word, if you see, political psycho-philosophy. Okay, now authoritarianism. Now the authority who are there in the power, we blindly follow them because they show the opponent who is perceived enemy a threat to us for our religion, for our caste, subclass, sub-religions, everywhere it goes on. He says that. So in every nation versus nation, state versus state, like everything goes on like that. The authority who is having authority, if he belongs to your group and you straight away succumb to them, give all power to them. What happens with that? You get this sense of power. So one way you want to get separate, overcome the independent individuality and overcome the anxiety. Other side, you are surrendering your power, your cognition to the authority. Thereby, you are losing your independence, your individuality further. This is the dichotomy, what he says. Okay. So, another side, he says that there is a positive freedom. This is all about negativity. It's a positive freedom. Spontaneous activity, full expression of rational emotional potentialities. There is a rider here. Yeah. Most of the time in the political aspects, we are irrationally behaving. Here, if you are positive, you exercise the rationality and emotional potentiality and take decision. There is one part of it. But even then, here he says that there is a dichotomy of life and death. So, in terms of another, what are the two authoritarianism, how it is in detail, it is not given in our book, but I am focusing on brief understanding. We try to join ourselves with the other powerful person, other individual, or the institutes, or the party, or the group, or organization, because I join with them because I feel weak. By joining that group, I will be strengthened and become powerful. Second, but what happens? There is zero contribution to you. There is no contribution to positive contribution to do them. But another one, this authoritarianism promote the destructiveness, not only destructive, but sadism also. So, in order to reduce, we unite with the individual, other organizations, which promote sadism against another group, that type of intolerance, hatredness. So, and enjoying the sufferings of others. That is what he says. Then comes this sadism. He traces that in order to reduce your anxiety, you are promoting a type of destructiveness and the sadness in the society. He said, in order here, what happens with this? This approach make you make others dependent on you, so that you feel powered. And this approach, the majoritarian people or the people who are having authority or the more weapons or power, means of communication, other aspects, more power people, they will exploit the other. Second one, you also encouraging the exploitation, that is it says. And second is see, you try to enjoy the pleasure of other suffering. This is what is happening with the. So he says that it is in the name of the freedom, in the democratic capitalism. This is what is happening. Exploitation is happening. So families, he discusses about unproductive families. This is leading to the unproductive families. Love and affection are hampered. Cohesion is hampered. And a type of marriage has also become an exploitative institutions like. This is what he says. And there is a punishment in the family. So what are the solutions he gives? Is first, and now we have discussed dichotomies about the religion, salvation, realization, past, future, and then anxiety, separatedness. Further to overcome, we supporting the authoritarians, powerful people, sadistic people, machoist people, and we are losing our freedom further. Now what to do? What is the solution for us? It is applicable to all the nations, all the societies, all the individuals in the modern day. That is, he says. Now, from solution, first accept the separatedness, then halt the process of individualization. Try to share, try to become dependent, try to share burden of others, try to take help of others. Then don't take too much freedom. Don't take too much freedom. There should be limitation for the freedom. It should not go beyond the limits. In the name, what is the limit for that? Social good. Your individual, utmost individualistic promotion or the interest is not good. That should be checked by the social cause, social interest, common good, social welfare. Then he says that don't adopt to the escapist mechanisms, what we have discussed earlier. I'm not going again, go back, time is short. So he says, accept the separatedness, don't go for too much individualization, don't take too much freedom, and then don't adopt the mechanisms, escapist mechanisms, as authoritarian. Don't succumb to the pressures of in the name of the race, religion, caste, other things. Don't go for that in the name of nationalism, other things. Don't become succumb to their destructive elements. Don't conform the negative elements in the group. So be positive. Use your positive freedom. Where is there? What is that? What is that? What is that positive freedom? Positive freedom is one. The opportunities, your rights you enjoy within the limitations of three things. One is, he says about that, rationality, emotional health, and social wealth, social health. So these are the positive freedom statistics one has to adopt. This all discussed earlier. So now he says that basic needs, he discusses there are certain human basic needs. They should, in individually society, they try to promote that more. If they are properly realized, it is healthy, it says. So what are the 5 basic needs? I will go for. There are positive elements, negative elements in that. One is relatedness, and second one is transcendence. Third one is rootedness, feeling at home, and sense of identity. Identity means separate from others. So that gives a recognition for you. Fame of orientation, it includes how you interact with the others and the groups, how you organize yourself in that. So it is aimed at moving towards the reunion and the natural world. What it says, these human needs, if you implement positive elements, there will be a chance of reunion and the dissatisfaction can be eliminated. So if not done, where we land? Says a lack of satisfaction these needs leads to unbearable and result in insanity. So he says about that rootedness, belongingness, all this relatedness, along with your self-identity. Both is combining here, social elements and the individual elements. Just brief about the relatedness is uniting with the others and achieved through submission, power, and love. Love is the soul. Among all these, love is more a soul way of uniting. Is not for irrational submission or forceful power. Love he defines, say, as the process of uniting with someone, something outside one's own self on the condition of maintaining uniqueness and integrity of oneself. So we'll go for summary of human needs. So here summary is negative for each of these needs, there is positive element, negative element. In relatedness, we discussed there is a submission element, negative element, irrational submission, and then another positive element is love. Transcended destructiveness to creativeness. Rootedness is fixed, only pertaining to only one group, one person, one caste, one religion, to the wholeness, whole humanity. Sense of identity is a negative group conformity. Irrationally, we follow that group and go for the individuality. Frame of orientation is irrational goals to the rational goals. So let me see, time is very short, we'll move forward. Character oriented personality types, there are the four types of non-productive orientation, productive orientation given. Non-productive personality types are, there are more relatively permanent in human beings. These are adopted to fulfill the basic needs. Non-productive are receptive, always taking, hoarding things from away from others for selfishness and exploiting others and marketing your own self to sell yourself. And what are the positive orientations of lifestyles? Are working with others creatively and loving others and using reason. These three productive lifestyles are characters. You are using the word character there. So now I am bypassing this one. non-productive. I will give this is not there in our book. Already what is covered in our book, I already covered. According to Farm, a healthy individual is blend of all the 5 character orientations, positive orientations. And healthy individual survival is based on one's capacity to receive, take. Both are there, preserve and exchange. He says both should be there. And then for the social good as well as the individual good. So ultimately, productive orientation focusing more on the loving, different types of love he gave, and also productive personality traits, love the life, in love with life, and attracted to growth. Try to influence others by love and concerned with the growth through the mechanism of love. So another productive personality trait is being. Define self by what you are, not by what you have. Self-worth comes from within, not from comparing with others. There are certain hints he had given, very elaborately discussed. So he says that ultimately the person who is more individualistic, no social concern, more dichotomies, more dilemmas about the religion and salvation and all this self-realization, he says that it leads to the neurosis. If you want to promote your self-needs, it land there. So he gives a solution of that disorder, psychological disorder. What he also he says that psychoanalysis is not fit to improve this neurosis. Eric Fromm preferred transference neurosis and wanted analysts to perceive the authentic human being by patient. Try to listen. Here it comes to the person-centric therapy proposed by Carl Rogers. You try to be a human being, try to understand him, be authentic. He also used about the authentic, unconditional, positive and authenticity. So he favored Adler technique of early recollection and early childhood experiences, and also taken insights from the Harney. We will discuss tomorrow, tomorrow, about the intellectual and emotional elements, how to take. From the Freud perspective, he had not taken the psychoanalysis, meaning that unconscious part. He tried to, he gave that humanistic angle of authentic listening of human being. And then recollections, early recollections, he want to recollect at the intellectual or cognitive level, emotional level. Then he says analytical therapy assisting the patient swap from non-productive to the productive forms. We have discussed what is the major productive form of that? Love. He focuses on the love. There are different types of love. He also discussed about the art of loving. This is about how one person becoming unconscious, one unconsciously or consciously becoming isolated from the society and the nature. And he has given how a human being fulfill his basic needs, promoting more individuality and losing his individuality to the maladaptive methods. And the solution what he gave is reunion, if not possible, self-realization within the context of reason and positive emotions. This is about the Fromm's, it's a philosophical theory about the personality